welcome to this special broadcast on CNBC-TV18. I'm Shereen Bhan. Veteran industrialist Ratan Tata has left behind a legacy that's etched in the history of India, from being a global business icon to a philanthropist to an animal lover. Tata donned many roles in his life. The biography, Ratan Tata, A Life, traces his journey from his lonely childhood to his first job in the Tata Group to helming Tata Sons as chairman. And it also includes lesser-known stories about the challenges that he faced in school, his job as an architect, his first serious relationship, and more. Retired bureaucrat Thomas Mathew first met Ratan Tata about 3 decades ago, but it was only in 2018 that he decided to write his story. He's interviewed over 130 people whose lives Ratan Tata touched. To tell us more about the man, the life, the legacy, and the untold stories, we're joined by the author himself. Mr. Mathew, many thanks for joining us here on CNBC-TV18. What an absolute pleasure it is to have you back on the channel. And congratulations on this tome. It's quite the book. And I want to understand from you, you've known Mr. Tata going back 3 decades.
That's
right. It was 2018 that you decided to put this down in words. Why?
It's not me who decided. Actually, it's by chance. Let me explain to you what happened. In 2017, he had come to Rashtrapati Bhavan as the distinguished invitee of our president, Mr. Pranab Mukherjee. So he was there for almost 2 days, more than a day. And we spent a lot of time together. We got socially close. You know, I've been meeting him very frequently since 1994, many times. Right. And as you know, in the Ministry of Finance, he used to come there as the member of the Captains of Industry.
Right.
So we had this interaction, but in 2017, we spent a lot of time together. Then I was in Mumbai along with my son, George, who's in the Foreign Service. So he says, I want to see Mr. Tata. I want to see if he's for real. So I said, you just can't go to him and see him. So I just picked up the phone and asked Sir, I said, sir, can I come and see you? Because my son is pestering me. He says, he wants to see you in person. I want to see if you're the real Ratan.
Yeah.
So I took up the phone and called him, and he said, okay, come over for dinner if you have the time. That's how humble he is. That's his level of humility. Yeah. So in the evening we went, and for 3 hours my son and he got chatting, and he gave us snapshots of his life, which I was overhearing. I found that really exciting. So I said, don't you think you should write your autobiography? So the spur of the moment he turned around and said, Thomas, I'm not going to write, I can't write it. If you want to write, you write my biography. And that's how it started. You know, it is music to my ears. I wanted to ask him a second time, did you say that? But I said, I'm not going to do that. I want to take the chance and run.
Not going to take a chance, just go with it.
Go with it. And then started the journey to unravel the complexity of the most simple man you can ever meet.
That's a very nice way of putting it, the complexity of the most simple man. And, you spent, what, over 140 hours with Mr. Tata, interviewing him.
Right.
Probably much more than even his closest sort of colleagues and friends perhaps have spent. And, what we know from public persona, public perception, is the man who came in, who sort of brought together this very diverse and disparate conglomerate and made it a cohesive whole. But what, to your mind, has been the most standout success of Mr. Tata?
See, if you look at it from the business point of view, let me tell you, he became chairman in 1991, March 25. That is a time when there was also this policy of Narasimha Rao, Manmohan Singh government to have the economic liberalization. So he inherited from JRD, as you said, a disparate group of companies piloted by equally capable stalwarts, not so favorably inclined towards Ratan, as you know. And we're very unhappy that Ratan was chosen as the chairman. And you had Rusi Modi, Darbari Seth, Ajit Kerkar, all of them thought that they were the best to be the chairman. But for several reasons, which if you ask me a question, I'll tell you. Not because Mr. Ratan was a Tata, not that because he had a surname, but he had this amazing vision, a scientific mind, courage, and as JRD said, amazing memory like him. And said he was most suited, and especially his young age, 52, 53, he said he's the right person to have a long tenure. And it's extremely important, long tenure, because he will have to navigate the ship of the Tatas through the tumultuous phase of economic liberalization and the transition. And therefore he became chairman. Now, if you ask me, we probably researched, deep dived, and there is no piece of information, there's no piece of anything written that we have not dug out. Okay, and he was very lonely in 1991 when he took over. He had the satraps working against him, which he said, almost about 3-4 years before he stepped down. He said, "When I took over, I didn't have many friends, and people thought that I don't have the capability of JRD and that I will run the conglomerate down." But he proved them wrong completely. So what did he do? In fact, there is something which is really unknown, let me tell you. That's because it is Ratan's own fault. Very reticent man.
Yes.
So he has not spoken about his own achievements. He brought together a conglomerate and made it like a federal government, but with a unitary bias. Okay? That means you give them the freedom to work in actual unison with a common goal and don't engage in internecine conflicts. Okay?
But did he feel like he had accomplished this, what you believe is his most significant contribution to the House of Tata?
No, I'll tell you something. You tell him that, sir, your achievements have been stupendous. The man will blush. Is like almost like a Greek god, the complexion he has. You continue with it, as I said, as I told somebody, a friend of mine, you continue with this compliment and he'll start biting his lips. Actually, he gets very nervous and embarrassed. But there are many things which surprised him. Because, let me tell you something, the much vilified government is much better in record keeping. The stupendous changes, the enormity of the changes that he brought about in the group has not been mapped or recorded anywhere. See, you have about more than 24 reports by Harvard University, the best of MBA institutes in the world. But they have only dealt with 1 or 2 components of his restructuring program, which I say, which according to me, it has 11 caterpillar legs of growth. They only identified only 2 or 3.
What are the other 9?
No, I'll tell you. You will have to go into the most interesting is the JRDQV award. Okay? Then the Tata business model. Okay? Then you have TCOC, that is a Tata Code of Conduct.
Yeah.
Then you have the GEC. Then you have the branding, that is the freedom to use the logo.
Yeah.
Now everybody has talked about only JRDQV award. But this man, what he did, he brought in the TCOC. And he brought in, again, most important contribution, let me tell you, like most of the people don't talk about, is that when he took over in 1991, you'll be surprised to know that Tata Sons, the parent company or the holding company, had less shares in his flagship company called Tata Steel at that time, Tisco, less than what Birlas held in Tisco. Okay? So after 1991, Ratan came out and said, if we don't merge, if we don't increase our stakes, we are going to be eaten up by the multinationals. So he and his famous lieutenant called Soonawala, N.A. Soonawala, they hit upon several innovative schemes by which they increased the stake of these companies. That and through this mechanism, they brought in amazing cohesion. And let me put it like this to you. I don't think, there was a time when I surprised him. He took over as chairman Tata Motors in 1988. Okay. Now, he stepped down in 2012. Now, if you look at the growth, percentage growth of the top line from 1988 to 2012, but actually it should go up to 2016. Now you'll ask me why? Why 2016? That is because you look at a McKinsey report or any major reports, after an economic contraction that happened in 2008, it takes you 8 years for it to recover. Okay? Now, I mean, I'll wager with anybody. In fact, I wagered with him. I asked him, sir, can you tell me what is the percentage top line growth? He said, Thomas, I don't remember any of this. You know what? It kissed 20,000%. Will you believe it? He said, no, that's not possible. Then I said, sir, give me a blank check. She said, that I won't give you. So that's like, and I'll give you another thing. You know what? This man has not been recognized. I'll just give you what, I don't know if I should take an example, but that's the example I like to take. You heard about Jack Welch, the so-called, titan of GE.
Yes. From
1981 to, to 2000. He was at the helm, that's about 19 years.
Yeah.
He grew his company from $27 billion to $130 billion. Yeah. And there you are talking about 361 odd %. You know, when R&D took over, he had a turnover, that's the top line, of $5.4 billion. It took it to $100 billion. Yeah. 1,742% increase. And The Economist and Fortune would dub Jack Welch as the biggest thing that has happened to industry in the world. Compared to him and the other industrial leaders, to me, R&D is the Shahenshah of industrial leaders, but nobody says it. He's an Indian. So therefore, people don't recognize him. But I think he's not been recognized. But the world, even a person like Henry Kissinger has been talking about him in such glowing terms. Yes. I interviewed him for about 2.5 hours. He said he's like 2% of the best the world can ever give you. And he says most important is that, he says for Ratan, it is not business proposal that will motivate him. A social responsibility has to be fulfilled, and a business proposition will make that happen. What a profound statement. No, so there is so much to speak about this reticent.
I know, 700 pages of stories.
Without notes, without notes.
Of stories there. But you talked about something that I think many people recognize, and you said that he was a lonely man, especially in the early 90s when he was going through this phase of restructuring and reformation. But what about the period, especially the Mistry period? What about the period post that? Did you have conversations about what he thought that had done to him personally in terms of reputation, and more importantly, what he believed the future would hold for the Tata Group post something like that?
See, Mr. Tata is made out of a different mold, let me tell you. When he took the decision to replace Cyrus Mistry, he doesn't like to use the word remove, or like the journalists say, sever him from Tata's. No, he didn't want to do that. He said he was replaced. Now, did he want to replace him? I've done extensive research. I'm not alone what he was speaking about. He really did not want to change him. So what did he do? He tried his best to bring in external elements who could help Cyrus Mistry rise up to the occasion, and also change his strategy so that the Tata Group would be able to perform better, move along the trajectory which he thought the corporation should move. But that did not happen for many reasons. So therefore he got Nitin Noria, the Dean of Harvard, to help him. I did about 6-7 hours of interview with Nitin Noria. He said there was only one intention of Mr. Ratan Tata to involve me in the group as a director. That is, to help Cyrus understand the complexities of his group. That is because, Mistry did not come with that kind of experience which is required from salt to software to steel. It's so complex. I mean, it's like almost like a nation for all practical purposes, If you look at the turnover and the GDP, will come somewhere about maybe 40, 50 or 60, depending on the year you take. And he supported it. Somehow, for some reason, maybe Cyrus must have got influenced by, the GEC, there's a General Executive Council. Interestingly, he actually employed or filled it with youngsters, But Tata's, they're a very traditional organization. And the GEC prior to, this is something which I analyzed, GEC prior to the GEC of Mistry had people like stalwarts, warriors like J.J. Irani, Krishna Kumar. And the most interesting thing, I did an analysis. the average age of the GEC under Cyrus Mistry was less than the experience of the earlier stalwarts. Now, how can somebody with age of 35, 36 talk to a veteran like J.J. Irani, and that's a brilliant PhD from Sheffield? You can't talk to him about Tata Steel, you know. So you need veterans to talk to veterans. So therefore, but yet he tried, and he tried to support him. He gave him the full weight of Tata Trust behind him. I'm not saying this, a lot of journals have said that. But for some reason, he was not able to rise to the occasion. And therefore, he says, you know, that's what Nitin Noria told me. He said, there comes a time when you have to take a decision, whether you will fulfill your fiduciary relationship with the millions of stakeholders you have, and also fulfill the goals which were enshrined by his forefathers in making the endowments to a Tata Trust, so that they can give back to society what they said should be done. So he said, do you take the painful decision because the performance of the corporation or companies are going down? So what will you do? So then he says he had to take the most painful decision. Now, did it cut both ways? I think, if you honestly ask me, it cut Mr. Tata much more than it cut Cyrus Mistry. It upset him to no end. You know, there was a small sub-chapter which I changed in this book. After his retirement, he wanted to play the piano. The corner, there was this piano. And there was a sub-chapter which I said, the piano goes silent. Then I removed it because, you know, he did not like that. He did not like that subtitle or, you know, the sub-chapter, because it was showing him in his most agonizing times. Believe me, some people outside do not know that it hurt the man who wielded the sword than the person who was removed with the sword. That's what it is. It's a very sad story. And he always used to tell me, Thomas, I feel very bad that I did not show him out the door like the Tata way. I couldn't do that. And we don't do this. We don't replace people.
So that was his regret?
But as I told somebody else, it was this inevitable, regrettable moment. He couldn't do anything but do it.